up, internet? Back again with the final, at least in my mind, to this little sub-series of Black Gun shit, discussing the moral aspect of being a concealed carry owner and actually employing your gun, whether it's to actually shoot someone or to address a threat that's imminent. So we've already talked about the need to be versed on the legal aspects of it, and how that's an ongoing thing. You don't just learn it one time because the laws change, and two, you need to refresh yourself not only for your own personal, barometer of how to respond to situations when you think about it in the beginning, but that you might move somewhere, and the laws are different. So you need to stay up on that. We've talked about ethics, where that's a wide-reaching and is derived from morals of how to address situations, and did you do everything that was required of you when judged under more so the lens of public perception than necessarily the legal statute itself. But now we said that ethics are derived from morals. So what are morals? Back to the dictionary. And I put my finger here because y'all didn't want to see me scrolling through this. Moral. Of or concerned with the judgment of the goodness or badness of human action and character. Teaching or exhibiting goodness or correctness of character and behavior. Conforming to standards of what is right or just in behavior. Virtuous. Arising from conscience or the sense of right and wrong. Having psychological rather than physical or tangible effects. That's weird. Based on strong likelihood or firm conviction rather than on actual evidence. That's important. So, at least from what I got from all of those, is that morals can vary from person to person, society to society. We get our morals from our parents, guy code, girl code, your religion, the value you place on life, the value you put on other people's property versus your property, stuff like that. All of that is subjective and can vary from person to person. You can't just assume that somebody has the same morals code as you. Okay, but what we do often assume is that in society, there's a minimum standard. Going back to ethics. Okay, so why do I bring up morals in this? Okay, again, I cannot tell you how much value to put on human life and how much to weigh someone else's life versus your own. That's your bag, and I wouldn't even try to. What I will leave you with is this: should you have to use lethal force, it is going to stay with you to the rest of your life. And even if we assume that it is in the most righteous circumstances that your life was imminent, it was you or your attacker, and you chose you, good on you, it is still going to stay with you. Whether or not it haunts you is solely up to you and your brain and your experiences, but there's ways to deal with it. And a great tool to have in the to deal with it is to know that morally you would have done it again, and that there is no question of whether or not you did everything you could to avoid and to do the minimum to neutralize the threat to you. Case in point, there's a friend of mine, I'm not going to say his name because I didn't talk to him before making this video, but I actually went to college with him. I was a freshman, he was an upperclassman when we first met. I was originally in Army ROTC before switching to Air Force ROTC, and that's where I met this guy. And he was cool, quiet, but not shy. He's just a quiet dude. He didn't say too much, and when he did, it was on what the subject at hand was. You'd see him out. I didn't think he was like a square or anything like that. Well, I was a square. But the point is, he's just a normal dude. Unassuming. He's not a big dude. He's not, I wouldn't call him small because I was tiny in college, but not imposing at all. Not a guy that you would think is a tough guy, and not anybody who would want you to think he's a tough guy. That's important. Well, he's from Atlanta. And at one point, over one of the breaks, I think it was my sophomore year or my junior year, I heard a story about my friend. And the long and short of it was, he was in a club. Somebody took exception to him. I don't know if it was something simple like stepping on shoes, but I just know it was minor. And my friend, walked away from him because that's who he is. Like, he's non-confrontational. He's just like, bump this, whatever. And he left. He went to his car, and the people who he got into it with in the club followed him out and started attacking him at his car, trying to pull him out of his car. They were kicking on his windows and stuff like that, trying to get to him. And he shot one of them. He killed him. He defended his life, and I know for a fact that he wasn't even on it. He was trying to leave. And they attacked him. And he killed one of them. And, we don't really talk. I don't talk to him too much about it because, again, I know that it's going to affect someone. So I don't want to be the one to keep opening those wounds. But there are people who were probably closer to him than I am that they know it affects him. Even in the most righteous of scenarios. I mean, how many times do you see troops coming back from war zones where they had to do what they had to do and they get PTSD? Okay, cops, many cops who are involved in good shoots, because it does happen, and I would even say it happens more so than the brutality cases. But it messes with you, and unless you do what you need to do, you do the work to get the therapy, to refine your tactics, to do an after action report. That's what we call in the military, of what you could have done different. Not saying that you did anything wrong, but what you could have done differently, what you could have done better to maybe preserve human life or to minimize the damage that was caused after it. Who knows? If you do those things, then that helps you on the way forward. And I can't guarantee, because I've never snatched anybody's soul from that's going to fix it. But I know that that's a lot better than letting it fester in your mind and having an inkling of doubt as to whether or not you were justified in killing somebody. And if you're not a sociopath, meaning that if you're not devoid of human compassion, empathy, and emotion, you're going to think about it. Okay? And I don't care what, your rap songs tell you, oh, I'll bust them on somebody. Like, no, that's not actual lyric. But you know how our music is like, it's him or me, it's hot outside, it's enough reason, he looked at me crazy. Most people are not about that life. And that's good, because that means you're a human still. All right? So my point is, all of this is going to shape the person holding the gun. Whichever pot you pour into is going to have a prevalence on when you decide to employ lethal force and to what degree. Okay? You have a responsibility to pour into each pot, to examine each pot, to refine, to strengthen each pot, so that you have every tool at your disposal should the needs arise to defend your life. And if you got to defend your life, by all means, go for it and do it. All right? I'm not saying second guess, because if you're not going to use a gun, don't carry it. There's nothing more useless than an unloaded gun, except for a gun and an unloaded person. I just made that up. But somebody who's not willing to use it. Okay? But that doesn't mean it's an on-off switch. It's not that you check the box and you just do it. You're like a robot. You are human. You have judgment. Give yourself every tool to make the best decision. That's all I got.